crispy.
And welcome back to another episode of Figures in Action. And in this episode, we are going to explore a new diorama that was commissioned for a gentleman here in the States. And he hit me up and he was interested in doing a 1/18 scale diorama for 4-inch action figures. He didn't know what he wanted, but he definitely didn't want like an expansion. There was a couple things that he was like, yo, I've seen these a million times. I don't want these. What do you have in mind? And yo, it just so happens that earlier that week, I think he hit me up on like a Thursday or something like that. But earlier that week, I was thinking to myself, yo, I want to create a parking garage, mostly because, or you know, like a corner of a parking garage. This little so let me put it here. So this is a 1/12 scale a safety barrier. I don't even know what they're called, but this was my homeboy Terraformer made this for me. So I had brought out the jersey barrier that I was gonna kind of hook up, and I forgot that he had sent me these. I was like, yo, I want to hook up like a 1/12 scale garage type shit. That'll be dope. Like I haven't really seen that, but didn't get a chance to do it. But when this gentleman hit me up, I said, yo, I can do a 1/18 scale corner of a garage with like you know, a parking spot and an elevator and so forth and so on. So he hit me up, I pitched the idea, he was about it, and here we are. And I should have been prepared for this. Hold on. Okay, my ruler should be right here, or my yardstick should be right here. Something's about to fall. Alright, so let me see how long this dial is. Alright, man, so the dial itself is about 19.5 inches wide. With the elevator, it adds like another, you know, 7 inches. But I'm not counting that because that's not something that's really going to come out in the shot. I mean, that dial kind of ends here, so you can't really do much with that end of it. But it's so 19.5 long, and then we're looking at 14 inches deep. And I know for a fact it's 8 inches tall. So that are the dimensions of this dial. So he hit me up. This is not going to be the easiest dial to kind of review, but I'm going to try my best. I might have to stop recording to kind of do a couple of things. So let's get into it. All right. So insulation foam board. So the first thing I remember about garages, I have lived in the city of Boston my whole life. Parking garages is just a part of what we're accustomed to. Anytime we would go to, like, let's say the Museum of Science, we'd park in a garage. The first mall that was closest to the city of Boston, Cambridge Side Galleria, was another parking garage that I always kind of went to frequently. So a lot of what I drew from for this was just from memory, bro. Like, to be honest, like the whole structure of it was just from memory. The angled, like that's all just like in my mind. That's how I remember. Then once I kind of laid everything out, I went online and I looked at pictures of parking garages, and it was pretty accurate. It was this is what they look like. I mean, they're pretty generic for the most part. But in creating generic type pieces, I enjoy that because it gives me the ability to flex my skills in terms of creating something that may seem easy, a lot of straight lines, but it's not. And so that when I do create destroy type dioramas, this is the basis of the skills that I kind of need, because once you have this down pat, once you can do straight lines and cut straight lines, and you know everything is kind of symmetrical, then it's a lot easier to just do destroy dials. Although doing destroy dials is not that difficult, but it gives you kind of this level of experience when you create these type of dioramas. So you know, obviously almost any parking garage is gonna have that kind of ceiling roof type of thing. So wanted to create it so that it looked similar to what garages look like, and usually just a bunch of cement is usually what garages are like. So created the top there. Interestingly enough, I didn't magnetize this. As you can see, it's pretty loose, mainly because it's such a small piece that it doesn't really move around. I mean, it just kind of stays in place, and if you're just going to take pictures, that's not really necessary to have to magnetize a lot of things. The rest of it is magnetized, just this top isn't. So what I did is just, again, created, more than anything, this is gonna seem like, yo, like word, but more than anything, a lot of the reasons why I create these little borders is because if I don't, you're gonna see light coming in from the other side. A lot of these foam boards aren't perfectly straight. There's some warping going on, so that just kind of becomes this barrier where I can hide some of that which fits perfectly into the theme of this style. And then this came with a longer piece of foam here, and just kind of cut an angle off right here in at the front of it. So that was that, and then created this kind of the safety pillar type of situation that can be moved. You can put it almost anywhere. It's not as tall as it is, you know, because it's kind of mainly for here. But if you take the correct pictures and you have it there, you know, you can kind of get away with it. Created this little garbage can, and a few people asked me how, if it was 3D printed or if it was not. It's not. This is just sewing mesh. I kind of I guess I kind of flexed it, like I made it, I don't know how to explain it, so I kind of made it like round, so I kind of put it in my hand and wrapped it up. Then I put it in front of my space heater, so it kind of stayed that way. Then I took a piece of basswood and I glued the back, and then I put it into place. This is just a piece of foam sheet, so I just kind of planted this on the foam sheet, circled it, cut it, glued it there. Again, threw in this basswood, dremeled a little hole here, and then threw in kind of that spike so we can hang it there on the wall. Just put a little piece of plastic bag here, and then this is just a wire, kind of you know, like electronics type wiring that I always keep when I find, and just wrapped it around and glue it, so it's kind of permanent. So this was my little you know, because for the most part you're gonna find some sort of trash receptacle at a garage. So did that, and then it just kind of plugs in right into the hole there, pretty easy. And because it's super light, it's gonna stay, it's not gonna be a problem. This door does not open, that door does open. So before we get into the elevator portion of it, let's finish up here. So basically these are two pieces of project foam board kind of glued together. And then I kind of cut the angle, or what I did actually is cut the bottom. I wish I could show the bottom, but this is glued on, I can't. So I cut the bottom of it, so like I cut the bottom of it here, and then I sliced it here, but it isn't sliced off here. So what I did is just kind of dangled down, I guess, and then I glued it into place. This is just that paper I've gotten before, AC Moore. Michaels has it, kind of has that texture where it seems like it's grip. So did that. I thought that came out pretty good. Let me see. Just painted these on, and these are just all, you know, I took tape and taped stuff off and painted a little bit and let it dry. This is an actual stencil, so I created a stencil from, just printed out like a handicap logo type of thing, and that logo, and just printed it out and then cut it out, and then I painted this blue, let that dry, then I put the stencil on top and painted this in white. I try not to, or I shouldn't say I try not to, I generally will not, I shouldn't say that either, I don't cut corners. I really don't cut corners. For the most part, I keep saying that because let me take that back. There are times when I'm creating these dials where there are easier methods to do certain things. In this particular case, I probably could have just printed paper and just glued it on there and flattened it out and made it, you know, as best as possible. And that's what I mean. I won't cut corners when it comes to stuff like this. That is painted on. That is not glued on. If you do glue it on, you can see the difference between the paint and the paper. You can see at certain angles that it is something that's glued on. Nah, man, nah. Those are certain things that I'm just not gonna really do that. But all of the signs that are here were glued onto, or I took aluminum tape and glue, you know, kind of put these on aluminum tape, cut around them. So these are all, they all kind of have that ability to kind of bend the corners and so forth. So all the signs, I did the same for all the signs. I think this one I did not. This one no, I did. You can feel it. This is a stenciled letter D, that's like the level. Up here is just vellum paper, but I put vellum paper, what I did is I kind of created a frame. In the frame, I kind of extended it past the line that was cut, so the vellum paper just kind of sits on the lip of that. And then I actually put a piece of vellum paper up top because it kind of looked disgusting. Just to cut out glues and, you know, all that stuff is inside of there, so I just put this piece of paper up here to kind of cut out the guts of that, but it still got the effect that I wanted to. Same thing with the elevator. I used not vellum paper, but this other clear kind of plastic paper. I wanted more of a flat, stronger type window or window that creates the light for the elevator. This back here, these are just tension ropes. I mean, they're kind of safety ropes. So what it is just, I'm pretty sure, yeah. It's just this stuff here. just some, I don't even know what this is called in terms of rope, but got a whole shitload of it. So what I did is I kind of stretched it out, spiked it into the back of the board. I kind of glued it into place to make sure there was no wiggle room, and I painted them in like silver marker, like legit silver marker them, because I've seen these tension wires at parking lots all over the place. So in other words, this cars that are kind of coming up that way, sometimes they can park here so you see front of the car, front of the car, and then there's these wires so nobody kind of falls through. So that's kind of the explanation of the inside of this dial. Took some replica pictures and just kind of shrunk them down to show the elevator floor numbers as well as the buttons to go up and down. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to pull out the whole elevator. Let's do it like that. This is the elevator. So, let me see. It's just a box. It's just a box that, as you can see, if I take that box out, you can just have the doors on there. It's not a big deal. The door is pretty easy to pop out, so I'll kind of pop that out now. And when I put the elevator back, you guys will see kind of that vision. I put that arrow up so that you know the elevator doors go placed that way. And I cut these out because I wanted it to look like the elevator doors had went inside of the walls. And usually there's like kind of that black bumper that's at the edges of the elevator doors. So I wanted to give it that look, but in order to put this back in, this is permanent, so I just kind of cut those divots out so it just can fall back into place. The elevator itself, just a box, painted it in silver, just put another little sheet of foam. Needed that because the height wasn't kind of reaching. It was too short when I did it. So, but it was perfect because I was able to kind of create the floors, and I didn't have to do it inside of the elevator. So I did that and glued that on there. The rails are actually pretty cool, man. I thought of a lot of times, like I'll be working, like in my mind, I'm like, yo, how can I make something real quick and still make it strong enough and blah blah blah. So let me see if I can get a good shot. I'm probably not gonna get a great shot of these. So basically, what this is, what I did is I took let's place this guy back, and then we can talk about how I went about creating the handrails there. So we put that back. So now you see it with the elevator doors off. And because it has that window up top, it's nice and lit. And you can actually kind of see. Let me see. Not with this camera, but I've taken pictures where it's angled off. You can actually see kind of the top there. I keep calling it a window. I mean, it's a window, I guess, just to create a light fixture and not have to use finger lights. I mean, you can use finger lights, but you can just use regular lights overhead, and that'll be just fine. So what I did with the handlebars actually is I took, let me see if there's anything. This is kind of a good example. So I figured out the size that I wanted for the dowel rods. Obviously, that had to be one of the skinnier ones. And then what I did is, if you guys can see here, I kind of took a Dremel and kind of just made a hole, and then I cut the wood in half, and then I placed the dowel rod into that little notched out round half moon type of situation. Then I cut the stick there, and then I sharpened it and I stabbed it into the wall. So that's pretty much how the handlebars were created, but they're pretty strong. Like I like to do stuff like that just to make sure it's strong and it doesn't kind of fall apart. Alright, man, so this is pretty much it. I got a bunch of pictures I'll post. Took some wood and just kind of wanted to make a safety feature so that people can see this pillar. So I kind of made that, but this can be placed anywhere. And yeah, I think that's pretty much an aluminum tape for here, aluminum tape for that little thing there. What else? I think that's it, y'all. Alright, if you have any questions, just put them in the comment section and I'll get back to y'all. And I am out. Peace.